Hey, welcome back to the Stebbins Garage YouTube channel. In our last video, we got the cam put into our LS, and now I'm working on putting the heads together. We're gonna get all that on. We're gonna do all of the accessories with some ICT Billet brackets and stuff like that. We're gonna have the engine completely ready to go in the car, minus one part. And then in the next video, we're actually installing the engine and the transmission. So I hope you'll stick around. Heads are all cleaned up. It's time to go ahead and put the valves in. In order to do that, first we need to put the valve stem seals in. I gotta find those in one of the boxes over there. We'll put those on. I have a special tool for that, and then I have a tool to install the valve springs, and so we're gonna do that. Okay, so I've got the heads flipped over. I went ahead and wrote the number that corresponds to the valve. In case you're wondering, so I marked all the valves when I lapped them in. On the head, I put a zip tie and then took a picture before I cleaned these all up to get them ready to go on the car, because my numbers that I wrote on there were wiped off. So now I know which is which. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the valves in, and I have a valve seal tool we're gonna use to install the seal. Then we can put the springs on. Okay, all of our valve seals are in. That tool made that super easy. Next, I couldn't find these retainers and keepers. So valve spring retainers and keepers will hold those in place. It's just, I'll show you, it's two little pieces. And then there's a top hat basically that holds the spring. So we've got a special tool that makes this fairly easy. I'm gonna go ahead and get that. We're gonna get some of these out. We'll get our valve springs, pop our valves in. And as I mentioned, these are all numbered because we've already lapped the valves in. So we spun them in there so that they match up. And so we want to make sure that we seat them in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the valves that correspond to this. We'll put those in and we will be good to go. These are single. This is all I need. I don't need a dual, anything fancy for the cam I'm running. So we're going to get these out of the package. All right, those will sit pretty much just like that. All right, and then in here, I'm gonna grab a couple of keepers for each one and then a retainer for each one. Okay, finally. You want to make sure you're wearing eye protection and make sure those are seated before you take this tool all the way off. Otherwise, it won't be for a good time. Yeah. All of our valve springs are in. I put new valve stem seals. The keepers and the retainers are back in. So we're ready to go with this. These will be ready to bolt back on the car. I've already cleaned all the sealing surfaces. Once we bolt everything on, we'll be able to put the piece here that holds the rocker arms, and we can put the push rods in and the rocker arms. It's time to go ahead and put our lifters into our lifter trays. These are new ones from BTR. You're sensing a theme here, right? These are GM or Delphi LS7 lifters. We're gonna go ahead and put those in the tray and then put them on the engine. Our lifter trays are in. That was kind of hard to film. They're a little finicky, but I got them in. Have a new set of Performa Torque MLS Velcro gaskets. These are head gaskets, and we are ready to stick those on. Everything's, the mating surface is all clean. So pretty much all we've got to do is go ahead and lay this on here, and we can lay the head on and start torquing everything. One step that's really important to do before you put your head gasket on is you want to go through, let me move this out of the way. You want to blow all these bolt holes out. And what we're doing there is getting, if there's any liquid in there, we can't compress it and the bolts will lock and we won't be able to tighten them properly. So now we're good to go. On this side we can put our gasket on, put the head on, and sit the bolts in there. Okay, if you're stuck like me, these two medium length ones go in 9 and 10 respectively, according to my Google Foo. It's time to go ahead and torque these heads. I just did that for the thumbnail. Okay, so got one side torqued. You can see that was a little bit of a struggle. I did actually buy this Quinn wrench from Harbor Freight. I got it on sale for like 130 bucks, but it does angles as well. Well worth the money to be able to do that. This thing's like 2 foot long, so you get a lot of leverage. I feel like I'm fairly strong, and I still struggled to get those turned to 90 degrees. So if you can spend the money on a tool, definitely do that. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. You just saw me do it, so I don't need to show you again, but just trust that both sides are the same. I started a time lapse installing these rockers, and it was so tedious for me to keep going back and forth to the instructions. But I got them done. Both sides are on there. I had to put the engine on top dead center on cylinder 1, and then there's a specific procedure to do that when you torque each different rocker down. And I'm not going to tell you how to do it because I found it on the internet and followed the instructions, and it works fine. So anyway, they're 22 foot-pounds. Just Google it. It's like the first result from LS1 Tech. And anyway, I'm moving on from this. I went ahead and threw the temperature sensor in there. I have these gaskets for the valve covers. I also have these bolts for the valve covers, and I've got some new gaskets for those. These are ugly, so I'm gonna clean them up. I might end up painting the tops too, just to make them look better. We've got a ton of sensors here. I've got I don't remember which is which. I think this is the crank position sensor, and this is the cam position sensor, oil pressure sensor. And then there's bolts, and you can see these bolts are all crusty. I'm not putting that stuff back on, so I'm either going to buy new bolts or I'm going to clean those up. Anyway, that's where we are right now. Next time you see this, I'll be putting my valve covers on. And I've got a valley plate so that I can lift this up. Once I get to that point to set it in the car, which shouldn't be that long, I've got the water pump to go on, the alternator to go on, the power steering pump, and I'm actually going to go ahead and throw the AC compressor on, even though I may not have it all hooked up yet. And then, we've got a pilot bearing to go in the back. I need to put the flywheel on, and we'll put the bell housing for the transmission. And I think it's ready to go back in the car, which is kind of scary. But this thing has been sitting for over a year, and here I've been working towards this point. So to say that I'm excited is an understatement. Oh, and I've got a brand new balancer. Thank you, Corey, for that. That's an F-body balancer, so we'll go ahead and put that on as well. Got those bolts cleaned up. Haven't torqued the valve covers yet, but I do have some other things I need to put on. I think I showed you this before. So over here I've got these ICT Billet coil pack racks, and they will hold our truck coils, which I still have to clean up the base for those that mounts them, but I'm going to go ahead and stick these on, and I'm going to torque the valve covers, and that should be good for now. Hey, it's Bill from the future. I was editing the video and it was getting really long, so I'm going to break it up into two parts. I'm going to publish the one today that you're seeing, and then the next day the one with the accessories is going to go up. That way you get one back to back, and then I'll be working on editing the engine install. So I hope that's cool with you guys. Otherwise it was going to be a really long video, and I figured I'd break it up to make it a little easier to digest. So anyway, thanks for watching this one. I'll catch you on the next one, which will be tomorrow. See ya.